what took me by surprise was how much I ended up racing. With my DS after the tour, we were laughing. We were talking about how we just finished the tour, and he told me like, "Oh, you were supposed to be reserved for the whole season, and then you end up doing the tour. That's pretty special."
Welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. I'm Matthew Pioro, and with me is Matt Hansen. Hello, Matt.
You know, I had a great idea. You know, this Canadian cycling podcast thing, it's nice branding, but what about the Matt and Matt show? It's hipper, it's cooler.
Yeah, no, I like it, Matt and Matt. I think, didn't we riff on this a few episodes ago? Matt and Matt's excellent cross-Canada cycling adventures or something?
We could have. We've done so many of these, you know, like 5 or 6. I just don't remember. They're all a blur.
Really? They're that memorable for you, but you listen back to all of them with such diligence.
Every day.
Then, if you were paying attention, you will know who this episode's guest is.
Yes.
Yes, you would. It is Magdeleine Vallières Mill. She's on EF Education-TIBCO-SVB. And, you know, I'm feeling pretty, not smug, but happy that earlier this year, when we ran a story in the magazine about 6 young riders to watch, Magdeleine Vallières Mill was on that list.
Well, you nailed it. You're pretty good at we call you Nostradamus at the office.
I don't wish you did. No, you don't. But we also had help on that story, we had help from our friend Kevin Field, who is kind of a Nostradamus of Canadian cycling.
He definitely knows data. He's got some data in front of him. I would say he's a king of Excel sheets.
He really is. Anyway, we are going to hear from Magdeleine Vallières Mill coming up in a moment. But before that interview, Matt, do you know what has me kind of bummed right now?
I didn't win the midweek.
No, that actually wasn't.
I should have won the midweek.
No, I haven't even thought of that since last Tuesday when you...
You didn't get to fire me because I didn't win the midweek.
Okay, no. More seriously, this past weekend at the Vuelta, Michael Woods was involved in a crash, and it took him right out of the race. That's a total drag.
Yeah, because I think we're all pretty excited for what he was going to do this time. And, you know, he wanted to get a top 10 and maybe win another stage. So, yeah, it's a total bummer. I hope we can recuperate in time for, I don't know. Will he do the Worlds? I don't know.
Part of me is thinking, can he make it to Quebec and Montreal now? I don't know. He got a concussion. So, you know, those things can take longer than you'd expect. We'll see how fast he can get back to racing.
I think he would kill it in Quebec, Montreal for sure, but even Quebec with those punchy climbs, I could see him just demolishing people with that.
Maybe. The thing is, they're not like climber climbs.
No, they're not mountains.
They're not mountains. And as you know, folks like Wout van Aert are scheduled to go, Biniam Girmay, and they have those finishing kicks that are just monster, and they can get over a hill or two, so we'll see about that.
With those little steep things in Quebec, still think he could, you know, I know what you're saying about Wout, but I think he could still surprise people in those little steep climbs up in Quebec City. So anyway, we'll see.
And, you know, Israel Premier Tech, they need some points.
Yeah, they do.
They need some points, something fierce. They are, they're looking like they're still in the relegation zone. They could be bumped out of their World Tour license at the end of the season. It's funny how, you know, Hugo Uhl had that win at the Tour, but, you know, a Tour win gets you, I think, only 120 UCI points, and there are way more points on offer in Quebec and Montreal. I think if you come in around 8th place, you still get more points than winning a Tour de France stage. So,
and I think that's where a lot of the criticism is coming from now too, is that some of these teams are bound to do, all the teams are bound to do the big races, but then you could bugger off and do a smaller race, a relatively smaller race, and win it and get more points. I had this manager once, he was a Kiwi, and he used to always say, when the prows go east, we go west. So it's better to make $1,000 at some rinky-dink race in Michigan than to go to California and maybe make $50 in a preem, So same idea.
Yeah, there's definitely wisdom in that, but I mean, you have to send guys to the Tour de France, and if you're a secretly, not so secretly Canadian team like Israel Premier Tech, you're going to send, as they did, a lot of Canucks to that instead of maybe out to smaller races. I don't know. Would Woods have done better to go stage hunting somewhere else? I don't know.
But it sucks that teams have to strategize not just to win the race, but to get points. I mean, I imagine it must be pretty stressful to be those bottom two teams right now.
Yeah, I do not envy those people at all. You've been riding a bit still. I don't like how fit you're getting. It's frightening me, and we haven't gone riding in a while. And
that will change. Well, I think I can maybe beat my 15-year-old self now, so I'm feeling good.
Well, that's good.
But I've been doing this donut ride, this famous ride in Toronto, and that's actually been, it's sort of sketchy at times, but it's pretty great. They kind of race along for a while, so it feels sort of like a little bit of a zippy ride. But I've seen some old friends I haven't seen in a long time, and they've given me some sage advice, some harsh criticism.
Really? Like, what's an example of harsh criticism?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. When I raced, I was a little guy, and I was probably 20, 25 pounds lighter than I am, but I'm still a fit guy, but I'm not like a little, super lean 5% body fat guy anymore. And I'll get this, I find it so brazen, my people I know will say, "Oh, Matt, you're riding great. You just need to lose a bit of weight." And I'm kind of like, pardon? I'll go home and have my cigarette and cracker.
You say that kind of jokingly, and I know you've got a thick skin and it probably doesn't bug you at all, but that really bugs me because for a lot of reasons. And I've even heard pros, they'll go away for the off season and they'll say they got fat.
Which means 5 pounds or something.
For the love of crap, you are not fat. You weigh more than you did at the tour, but this is ridiculous. And there is that culture of sort of, oh, it's just jokes. We call the skinny guys like ourselves fat. But I think that's a really, it doesn't help with getting more people on bikes.
I don't even think it's a joke. I think it's just so easy and commonplace because this sport has got this, you've got to be you even think about the Tour de France, this year when they were getting ready for the Tour, they said, normally I think they say had 9 or 10 guys, 2 guys on reserve. Now they had 12 guys, and they even said they need to be at tour weight, which means, paper thin skin, right? Like you got to go up those mountains. So it's just part of the culture. I mean, and for right or for wrong, there is some truth, obviously. The thinner you are, or the leaner you are, you're going to have less to carry up the weight. But the fact that, now I'm riding with a bunch of weekend warriors and they're talking about it's like, come on, man. Like,
well, that's just it. Like this just goes to another one of those things where we look up to the pros, we like their bikes, we can buy their bikes, but there's a lot of stuff about the pro scene that you do not need to even think about emulating. And it's like weight is really not what you should be worrying about. I mean, yes, use cycling for weight loss and for getting fit and getting healthy, but this whole it also, to me, speaks to the unwelcomingness that some people feel about certain sectors of cycling. And it's like, if you're going to worry about whatever body image when you're getting onto a bike, we don't really need that baggage.
I mean, people of all body sizes will ride. And of course, cycling clothes is not flattering even, to the leanest of people. So, but at the same time, it's like, it just shouldn't matter, right? Like you're all getting out for the same reason, you're getting exercise. But it made me laugh a little bit because I was just blown away at how, and they weren't trying to be mean either. Like they were being nice, in their mind. I'm not sure if I would say it now. When I was younger, maybe I might say something like that. Like, oh man, you got to lose a couple pounds. But it was just so easy for them to say it. And again, it wasn't coming from a bad place. It's like, because it's true. If I lost a few pounds, the climb might be easier for me. Do I care? Not really. Do I care if I'm 4th place on the donut ride? Not really.
I used to dream about being 4th place on the donut ride.
It's not going to help my midweek because there's no climb. So I can just, say this beef. I can say a beefcake,
So are the midweek races finished for you?
Technically, they did end last week. I did go 2 days ago to the crit course, and I rode 30 minutes, and I ended up winning. Pretty good. Won't lie, there wasn't a large turnout. That wasn't in the cards, but I threw both arms in the air when I crossed. There was I don't know where the commissaires went, but for whatever reason, there was no one there. But I did win technically. If you want to,
Right. So it was like a solo breakaway that you did almost 12 months in advance, or maybe 10 months in advance.
I was, arguing with the other rider in my head, and it was a good victory. I took it. They all count. They all count. Might go next week too.
Wins beget wins. So maybe this is the beginning of a long, fruitful streak.
I'm going to do midweeks until April.
All through the snow? Are you going to do it on a fat bike?
Yep.
All right. As much as I would love to talk about your racing, fictitious or otherwise.
Happy to keep going. You can keep talking about this all day if you want. We can just skip the whole podcast.
No, well, we're not. We're going to jump right into my conversation with Magdeleine Vallières Mill and her astounding 40 days of racing in her first year on a world team.
That does sound a little more impressive than midweeks.
Magdeleine Vallières Mill, this season you've done the Tour de France Femm, the Giro d'Italia Donne, Itzulia Women's Tour, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, La Flèche-Wallonne, Paris-Roubaix, Strade Bianche, and that's just a selection of all the races you've done. You've had 40 racing days. Earlier this year, was the plan to do so much racing in your first year on a world team?
No, definitely not. I had I think 14 days planned with the team, and I was reserved for a lot of the races, and with COVID and injuries, and I ended up being in a lot more races, and I guess the team saw that I was improving, so they just kept putting me into more races, and I ended up for 40 days.
Yeah, that's a lot. How much notice would you get? As you mentioned, there were injuries and illness that would affect roster lineups. Would it be kind of last-minute call-ups for you?
Yeah, pretty much. I think the less time I had was 2 or 3 days before, but then sometime it would be 2 weeks. So yeah, not so bad.
And how does the last-minute nature of these call-ups affect your training and your fitness?
I guess this year the goal was more to take experience. So every time I could go to a race, I would just take it. So with my coach, we kind of looked so that I would build fitness with the races. So I guess we just played with the races, we fit them in the training.
How are you feeling now, having done so much racing?
I feel like I've learned a lot. I'm pretty happy with how the season went. I feel like I got stronger, and I'm still excited for more racing, so I think it's good.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're feeling sort of tired or spent or bummed out about all the racing you've done.
No, definitely not. But the team told me that I guess my season with the team is done now. So unless there is a big thing, I don't think I should be racing again. Unless I'm waiting to know if I get selected for Worlds. But if not, my season's pretty much done. I think they were pretty happy with my season so far.
You have a summer break, which is pretty cool. But I want to get into maybe what's ahead for you, maybe later in the season or next year. But I do want to talk about the Tour de France Femm. What was the highlight for you during that big event of the season?
Oh, there was so many highlights during that race. I mean, it was just so special to be there. I mean, we had this objective to get a top 10 in the GC, and Veronica got 9th, so that was super exciting. And I mean, just seeing so many people on the side of the road the whole time, and seeing little girls with stars in their eyes, seeing that actually this is possible for them too now, and just seeing how the women cycling is just growing. It was just incredible. The whole 8 days were crazy.
And you were 9th in the youth classification. What does that result mean to you?
Not much. I guess like my role was more to help, so my result I really didn't look at it. The goal was to get the result for the team, so any energy I could give to the other girls, I was giving to the other girls. So yeah, my result didn't matter at all.
You were affected by a crash on stage 5. Your foot got caught in a wheel. What was that like, stuck in a wheel as you struggled to get back in the race?
Yeah, I mean, crash happened, so that was one. It was a lot of riders that crashed, and I guess I was stuck for quite a while. My foot was stuck quite a bit, and yeah, I mean, then after I succeeded to get back with help with other teams, but yeah, I mean, yeah, crash happens.
Is there anything you can tell us about the tour that maybe television coverage doesn't show or maybe doesn't show very well?
Everyone wanted to be at their best at the tour, and everyone wanted to win, so it was like super hard racing, like from kilometer zero. And I think pretty sure it was only the last 2 hours and a half you could see on the TV, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like the beginning, like I guess could have been also interesting to see that, like from kilometer zero it was attack after attack after attack. The 8 days were just like super intense, and it was a super hard 8 days, but also I guess it was the tour, so yeah.
Right. It was to be expected, I guess, that it would be that intense.
Yeah, everyone wanted to like show that they were there, and every every little meter were like an opportunity for someone, so it was just very intense.
A few years ago, did you even think you'd race in the Tour de France? Did you think there would be a Tour de France for women?
Actually, like I watched Tour de France for men when I was younger, and I said to my dad like, oh, I would really like to do the tour, and I want to race with the men. And but I didn't even ride bikes back then, but in my head it was possible for me to race with the men. I don't know. And yeah, now I grew up and I realized it really wasn't possible. And that there was even not a tour for women. So I guess I didn't think about it. I didn't think it would be possible. So I just see it's a really big improvement for women cycling to have a tour, because it's even people that don't watch cycling or not interested in cycling. They know about the tour, so it's super special.
Before we talk more about racing, I want to talk about your business venture. Tell me about Qui Roule, a bike shop in your hometown of Sherbrooke, Quebec.
Yeah, I started a bike shop with my dad and Pierre-Olivier Boilly and Jonathan Goudreau. They also own Cibois, which is like a brewery. Yeah, so we started a bike shop in 2020, but then with COVID, we kind of slowed us a little bit down. So we opened this year, the beginning of the year. Yeah, we're like trying to build a community of cyclists. Like, I mean, we already have a big community in Sherbrooke, like a lot of riders. We have a mountain bike club, a road club, a gravel club. So it's a good community in Sherbrooke. So we just wanted to grow this community and put everyone together and create more rides. And yeah, we're sponsoring a couple of teams. We also want to grow e-bikes, because we really think to travel in the city, it's so much better by e-bikes. You can go actually faster, and it's just better for health, everything.
Now, you're based in Girona. How often do you get back to the shop?
I actually haven't seen the shop since it opened, which I'm quite sad about. I'm going back soon, so hopefully I'll get to be a little bit more in the shop and be able to help from there. But I've been more helping on the strategic side and on the media. It's a bit hard not to be there in the shop, but I guess I play another role at the moment.
Right. So you're racing, but you're doing this remote work on your shop as you performing your career as a cyclist. How do you think your role with the shop might change as it grows or goes forward?
Well, the goal is that after I finish my cycling career, I don't know how long I'm gonna be in cycling, I guess. Yeah, so after I finish cycling, I guess I would go back and work in the shop. That's like my after career plan.
You mentioned the cycling scene in Sherbrooke, and for me, it really came to my attention when Sherbrooke hosted the National Cyclocross Championships in 2016 and 2017. Your father was an organizer at those events, but your father is involved in a lot of different cycling. Tell me about a bike packing trip that you and he did when you were 9 years old. How far was it?
Yeah, so my dad had this idea that we would go visit my mother that lives in Gaspésie, which is around 1,000 kilometers. So when I was I was 9, we left. I had my little bike with the rack in the back with with my bag, and yeah, we left, and it took us 9 days. Our biggest day was 135. Yeah, I'm not sure how I did this, but yeah, that's what made me fall in love with the sport. So
I'm quite impressed with that because for a 9-year-old, either you're going to like it or you're going to hate it. But for you, you enjoyed it.
yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm sure at some point maybe I didn't like it so much, but I mean it was great. We would camp outside, and in the morning, like around 7, we would leave and ride the whole day. Arrive at 7 at night and go to sleep, and again the next day it would, like, I mean we did a lot of distance, but it would really take us the whole day.
Right. And like, that's not easy terrain. That's pretty hilly stuff. What was your drivetrain? What was your gearing like?
Oh, I cannot really remember, but I was like on a hybrid bike, so I guess I had the I had enough gear.
That's impressive. Since then, you've ridden cyclocross, cross country, and road. In fact, in 2019 as a junior, you competed in the World Championship races for those 3 disciplines. Lately, you are very focused on the road. Do you miss cross and mountain biking?
Yeah, I miss it quite a bit actually. Mostly cyclocross, and I'm hoping maybe I can do a little bit this year. Yeah, it always depends. I Now that my focus is more on the road, it depends on the road season, so we'll see. But yeah, for sure I miss it. It's so fun, both of them.
What are some cyclocross races you might want to do?
Depending on when I go back home, maybe I get to do a little bit of the Quebec series, and yeah, and maybe nationals if I'm still there. We'll see.
Your team, EF Education-TIBCO-SVB, isn't just about the Women's World Tour. It also looks at alternative racing events. Are you going to be drawn into any gravel or mountain bike races, maybe in the next season?
Yeah, actually, I when I got my contract, I thought that maybe they signed me and they wanted me to do a couple of gravel races. It turned out they wanted me more on the road, but yeah, for sure, this is something I want to do someday and like focus maybe a little bit on this. But yeah, for now, my focus is entirely on the road because that's what I like for the moment. But for sure, in the future, I would really like to do races like Unbound and do 200 miles. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Ugh. I don't know if that sounds like a lot of fun, but I don't know. A 9-year-old doing 130 kilometers and whatever, a 21-year-old today doing 200, it makes sense. I could see you doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different kind of fun, but yeah.
Yeah, totally. How did that contract come about for EF Education? How did you come to join that team?
Yeah, well, in 2021, I knew I wanted to change teams, so I started to reach out to teams I looked up to them in races, and TIBCO SVB was one of them, and yeah, they answered me, and I got on a call with them, and yeah, it went super well. So I talked to the owner, Linda, and it went also super well. And yeah, I just love the philosophy of the team and everything. So I was super excited, and I got a contract the next day. I didn't need to think too much about it. It was kind of a dream come true. So.
And before EF, you were at the UCI World Cycling Center in Switzerland for 2 years. Tell me more about that project.
Yeah, it's actually a cool project. Like I sent an application in 2019. Yeah, and I got selected to go to a ID camp, and we did a couple of tests, and after one of the tests they offered me a contract for the next year. It was super cool actually because it's hard for Canadians to go to Europe and start racing. It's kind of a a big big move to move to Europe and race. So and you need a team. So it was it's a super good program for that, and it's with a lot of country that have less support from their federation, or I mean that are there's less cycling in their country, and so I had girls from Ethiopia, Eritrea, Chile, everywhere, Slovakia. So it was super cool to learn about other culture and be with girls from other places and learn a lot from them.
I've seen on your Instagram feed a photo of you and Francis Janse van Rensburg on BMX bikes. Its location is the World Cycling Center. Tell me about the role of BMX bikes and your development as a rider.
Yeah, actually, when I was in high school, I was in a sport program and we would do quite a lot of BMX, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, just for fun. And I guess you kind of learn like technical skills. And at the World Cycling Center, like just to get like another type of bike and another type of things to do, I guess, like just to free your mind of road bike and not always be on the road bike, just to do something else. They made us do BMX, and we had the BMX coach, which it was super cool because at the World Cycling Center, there is not only a road team, there's a mountain bike team, a BMX team, a track team. So we're a lot of people in the residence. So we got to learn a little bit from other disciplines.
It almost sounds like the World Cycling Center is a bit like a university for cycling.
Yeah, kind of, actually, yeah.
Interesting. And so with BMX skills, I've heard they can help you with, say, your pack riding abilities, because you get really close to other riders when you're riding BMX. Did you find it had helped you on the road later on?
Maybe. I feel like just having like skills can help you like for turns or like if you're in the pack and someone's pushing you, well, you know what it feels like if someone push you. Yeah, for sure it's helpful.
Is there any cycling skill that you're focusing on right now? Is there something that you are maybe trying to improve?
Yeah, I've been living in Girona now, and like in Quebec there's not that many long distance from like in Sherbrooke anyway. And so it's pretty good to practice it because in races it can go pretty fast downhill. So even if you make it at the top of the climb, but you cannot descend, it's not so good. So like this is a technical skill I'm still working on.
Magdeleine Vallières Mill, you're 21. You're on a world team. It seems like you have a plan, and that plan is going well. Does it feel like you're moving forward with a smooth plan?
I feel like I'm just going with the flow. I just like try to do what I can, and I mean, if I have, if they tell me to go to a race, I go to a race, and I try to, um, yeah, get the most experience out of it. I think it's been going well for me so far to go with the flow. So that's what I'm doing.
As we mentioned, you're based in Girona, and you have a Canadian roommate. It's your teammate, Sarah Poitevin. What's life like for you and Sarah in Girona?
Oh, it's actually super, super great. Like we didn't know each other so well before we moved together. And then I wasn't afraid, but maybe a little bit because, you're going to live with someone for a long time. And it ended up being really perfect. I mean, we have the same coach also, which is nice because we can also train together. Yeah, it's just been perfect where we have like very similar personality in a way. So it's just really a lot of fun.
Who are some other riders who've had an influence on you?
Pretty much all my teammates, I would say. Like I'm learning from all of them. I guess my teammate from the other years too, I just feel like once you're in a team with some girls or some people, you really learn from all of them, and it's such a bond that's you just get to know them so well, and you're all working hard together to get to the same goal, and yeah, you get to learn so much from them.
Apart from riders, who's had a big effect on your cycling career?
Definitely my dad. He had a big impact. I don't think if he didn't make me do this trip when I was 9 years old, I don't think I would be in cycling, or if he didn't introduce me to the sport, I don't see how I would have fell in love with the sport. So my dad had a really huge impact. I would say also my coach, Chris Rosdilski. Since I started coaching me, I just I've improved a lot, and it's just been really teaching me a lot of thing about cycling, and also about how to go more easy and be patient, and yeah.
Yeah, Chris has worked with a lot of Canadian athletes. His influence is pretty big in Canadian cycling.
Yeah, definitely. He's also the high performance coach of our team, so it's been pretty great having him in the team too. He was at the Giro, so it was pretty cool seeing him at the races, and then he could give me feedback right after the races, which was pretty cool.
What has been your best race or stage this season?
I think I would say the Giro, because it was my first kind of longer stage race, at the World Tour level, and I just learned a lot about myself, and I got a lot of experience there, and yeah, I just had a lot of fun also with the team, so definitely the Giro.
Was there anything that took you by surprise this season?
What took me by surprise was how much I ended up racing.
Right.
With my DS after the tour, we were laughing. We were talking about how we just finished the tour, and he told me "Oh, you were supposed to be reserved for the whole season, and then you end up doing the tour. That's pretty special." Yeah, I think that was quite a surprise, but a good surprise.
Yeah, no kidding. As we've sort of mentioned or discussed, you are a well-rounded cyclist. But what kind of rider are you hoping to become?
I think more of a GC rider. I guess I'm also with this, I'm just going with the flow and trying to learn what kind of racer I am. It's still not clear for me, because I really enjoyed the classic and I really enjoyed the stage races, so it's kind of hard to say at the moment.
So as you mentioned, you are maybe done racing for the year, but you could be going to Worlds and then possibly cyclocross. Do you know anything about this next season? Do you have any ideas about where that will take you? And I know this year you're only supposed to be reserved, so actually who knows what's coming next year. But has there been any plans or discussions for 2023?
Yeah, I signed again with EF. Well, I signed for 2 years. So I'm guessing I would play a similar role next year and be trying to help the team as much as I can. And I think by how I learned this year, I think I can expect to learn again and be more helpful to the team in more races, maybe a bigger season, hopefully.
A bigger season.
That's always the goal, right?
Right. Well, Magdeleine, thank you so much for your time. I hope you get a good break, and I don't know, it'd be cool to see you doing cyclocross in North America again. So we'll see. We'll see what the next few months bring.
Yeah, I would love that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's the episode. It's written and edited by me, Matthew Piaro. I had help from Matt Hansen. Thank you, Matt.
How much editing goes into this? I thought that we kind of used everything.
No way, dude.
That's a shame.
You know there's stuff that you say that hits the cutting room floor and you know will hit the cutting room floor.
That's a big mistake, I think.
Also thanks to Terry McCall. This episode is produced by Adam Killick. He writes the music too. Also, thank you to Ontario Creates for its support.
So I set up that Cervelo, and I'm going to take it home from the office, like you said.
No, you didn't set it up.
I pumped the tires up.
Oh, I'm sure you did. I'm testing the S5.
We do have the same saddle height, so I could just take it if you want. Happy to.
You know, the last time we had an S5, this was before your tenure here, I didn't even get to touch it because there was a bunch of other colleagues who are also my size, and they got to ride and test it. So with this S5, I'm definitely taking the lead on this one.
Okay, I mean, whatever. I guess in theory you're the boss here, so.
Although, that said, I'd be happy to hear your impressions.
It looks fast. How's that?
Okay. All right.
I feel like I should be on Jumbo Visma looking at it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, just by looking at it, you can get to the World Tour.
Yeah. It looks quick. I'm pretty sure I would have won the midweek on that.
Oh boy, it's always the midweek. Okay, the review practically writes itself. Thank you, Matt. And listeners, please rate and review the show. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you later.